Gabriel Talks Football. A football mind is what you find. Gabriel Talks Football. Oh, the GTF show. Breaking down the Bears like no one around. He's Greg Gabriel. He lets the GTO.
Welcome everyone to a brand new episode of GTF Gabriel Talks Football. My name is Aldo Gandia. Gotta let you know two things. Number one, this is the final day of our partnership with Tally Brand Company. What am I doing here? So I pushed the button and now a different image. Anyway, tallybrand.com. Go there for these fabulous hats. They got great shirts. They're a fantastic partner. Rob over there has become a social media sensation. He's got these stickers that people are asking for. He's got all sorts of great ideas for future products. Best way to stay on top of that, of course, is to go over to tallybrand.com. The other thing I want to tell you is tonight is the season-ending episode of Draft on Tap with Danny Shimon and Aaron Curran. So I think they're live at 7 p.m. Central. Check them out live or on demand. Let me bring in the man of the hour. His name is Greg Gabriel. Greg, how are you?
I'm doing good. How about you? Hey, I want to ask you about that tally. What's the FGB stand for? You should know this stuff.
Fuck Green Bay.
Is that what it is?
Absolutely.
I wasn't sure. You see it on the side of some of his shirts and sweatshirts and all that. And I go, wow, well, I didn't know what it meant.
Yeah, it's been like a social media acronym for like the last 5-10 years or something like that. And
I didn't know that. He
correctly speculated that it could be a great logo to sell, and it's true. Those things are selling like hotcakes. So good stuff. And I love your hat. The one that you selected is pretty slick.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, good. So we've got a lot, and I mean a lot, to talk about. Where I want to start first, I want to talk about every individual player, but first, where I want to start is just your general thoughts on the entire Chicago Bears draft. On the screen, you'll see who they are, and then we can, go into specifics with every one of them, particularly the day 3 guys.
Okay. Well, I want to start just a little bit different because sure. I don't know if I said it on here. I know I said it to you a couple times. Might have said it on here. I said the smoke screen they were throwing out this year was tackle.
Yep.
And we got to get a tackle. They worked out all these went to all these big tackles things. They didn't even draft one. Then, kind of quietly in one of the pressers, Pohl says, yeah, Ozzy's doing pretty good. Mm-hmm. And didn't I say that's exactly what was going to happen?
Yeah. Yeah, you did. You know, it was funny. I was hoping that there would have been a follow-up by the media saying, well, how good is he doing? You said November.
I know. But I'm sitting there and I just started laughing when he said that. Yeah. And I said, you cannot believe what this man says in the 6 week prior to the draft, because if he's leaning in one direction, they're going in a title, a total 180 from what that says. He's done it 2 years in a row now.
Yep.
Last year, it was the running back, and very silently everybody thought they're trading up for Gentry. And then they think, well, then New England jumped in front of the Bears, or drafted Henderson in front of the Bears, like one pick in front of the Bears last year. They weren't taking Henderson. They were taking Luther Burden. Luther Burden was higher on their board.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and like you always say, it's, they got a board, and whoever falls to them, they're going to be true to that.
Right. Now, had Luther not been there, different story. But the proof of the whole pudding thing is that they didn't take a running back until the 7th round.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, he wants a narrative out there. He wants people to believe that. He wants fans to believe it. He wants other teams to believe it. Will he keep that same narrative next year? Well, he's gotten away with it 2 years in a row. He might have to, try something new next year. Who knows? But I just know you start looking for patterns. And to me, that's a pattern.
He has gotten better at that job responsibility of deception, because in his first year, you could almost tell when he wasn't being quite sincere with some of the things he's saying. Now, if you're encountering him for the first time, you're kind of wondering, wait a minute, could that be true? I don't think, he's really good at it. And Ben Johnson is pretty damn good at it too.
Yeah, no, it's funny because I said last week, I said, you watch, you're going to get out to OTAs, and all of a sudden Ozzy's going to be doing stuff off to the side. Not a lot, because you won't be ready yet. You'll probably miss 6 weeks of the regular season, maybe 7 weeks. You'll be fine. But, the proof is they didn't even try to take a tackle.
Yeah.
What did they take? The position they really had a need for, and that's center.
Yeah. Chief Latero says running back will be the new smokescreen next year.
Well, actually, they might have to take a running back next year, because Swift, is this the last year of his contract? Yeah, I think this is the last year of his contract. Mm-hmm. And he's completing his second contract. Do they want to go to a third?
Right. I kind of doubt it, but we'll see what that running back class looks like. I'm sure that will dictate a lot of what they are planning to do. You asked me to pull a soundbite from the Ryan Post Ben Johnson press conference, and it was a question related to the defensive line. You want to set this up, and then I'll play it? It's 20 seconds long.
Well, obviously everybody knew, and I think they knew, because they didn't sign one of free agents, they had to get an edge, and they didn't get an edge. Mm-hmm. And they got one guy coming in on a tryout basis who only had like 2 sacks or something for Texas Tech, and he was a backup. He's a rotation guy. And he's undersized. He's 240-something pounds on his pro day. So anyway, you always listen to what he says, because sometimes he throws little hints in. And this was on the, a little past the 14-minute mark of the presser on Saturday, and he throws out this little thing. And I caught it right away. I don't know if everybody caught it, but it was very telling to me.
All right, let's check it out.
I thought we were disciplined. Again, we said this a few times, just following the board and the best player that was available to us. I like the approach that we had. Came away with some really good players. And like I've said before, with any position, we're going to stay active, see what opportunities pop up, and if we can improve our football team, we'll do it.
We're going to stay active, and if any opportunities pop up, that's the key right there. So
right.
I'll ask you, the Giants defensive end, there's a lot of speculation that he
That's
might
the
be.
obvious name. I mean, you got to go
Yeah.
through you got to say, okay, who took an edge? What do they got
Right.
on the roster? All that
Mhm.
type of stuff where they, what's money being made. Thing with Thibodeau, let's just say they want Thibodeau, and he's only like 25 years old. He's a young guy.
Young guy.
But they got 4 first-round edges on that team right now between Brian Burns, Carter last year, Reese this year. So and Thibodeau. So somebody they're going to move one, and the obvious guy to move is Thibodeau because he's in the last year of his contract. He's in the 5th year of the deal. It's a guaranteed contract. He's making like $14,750,000 this year, and all guaranteed. So in order to make that trade, you got to have that salary in your cap. Not right now, the Bears don't. They got 10.7. So they'd have to restructure another contract just to make the trade. Now you could make the trade and do what they did with Sweat. You could give him a new deal, bring his number down. But when you make the trade, you got to have the money in the bank.
Right. Okay. So, and they could also include a player and his salary in that trade. So if they're asking for Gervon Dexter, would you kind of listen to that?
That's another interesting point because I thought if they took a DT, that Dexter could be on the outs. Only because you look at the numbers.
Yep.
And he plays tall. It seems like he's hit his ceiling to me, but at the same time, he's an interior defensive lineman that had 6 sacks, which is a damn good number. But is he exactly what they want? Now, athletically, he is, except for the fact that he plays tall and he's slow off the ball. I mean, the testing numbers are really good. But you look at, it's funny because I forgot all about Jordan Vandenberg. And what's weird, and how I forgot, I don't know, it's got to be old age, because I wrote him up for ages 3 different times.
Oh, wow, okay.
So first time I did him was like in July. So it's off last year. Now he's 24 years old, so he's a little bit old. In fact, a couple of these guys are a little bit older, and that's going to be par for the course going forward. Not necessarily 25-year-olds, but 24-year-olds, because guys are staying in school. But the COVID thing and those extra years, this is the last year you're going to have that. But kids are staying for the 4th and 5th year because, especially some good players, because they're getting millions to stay in school. But anyway, going to Jordan. So I did him in July, and I read these reports last night just to, freshen myself up on what I wrote. I said, this is an interesting guy that could really jump up during the 25 season if he plays the way he played at the end of 24 and he just keeps growing. The things that jumped out: run defense, quickness, overall athleticism, his motor. I mean, this guy is a snap to whistle guy. He just never quits. And so then I did him after 5 games. So this is like October 15th, around in there. And I said, a little disappointed because while everything he did in the run game is still there, very, very solid. I said, I thought he'd be better as a pass rusher. And at that point, he had 0. So but I still had the grade. When I grade for an agent, I just put day 1, day 2, day 3. And sometimes I put high day 1, high day 2, or not high day 1, day 1, high day 2, high day 3 versus 6th, 7th round. So anyway, I said still thought he was like a 5th, 6th round guy, and this was in October. Then I wrote him again. I'm going to say 5 weeks later. And I bumped him up a little bit, and I said, now you're seeing what we thought we'd see.
So, did you tell your agent on him? Is your agent representing him now?
No, I don't think so. But I wrote him actually for two different people. I wrote two for one guy, one for another guy. But it was just interesting. But now his testing numbers, he didn't go to the combine.
Mm-hmm.
His testing numbers weren't good. They were off the freaking chart good. I mean, I've never seen a big guy get a 10 on the RAS. You got a freaking 10.
You got a freaking 10, yeah. A freak athlete.
I mean,
Go ahead.
4.91 in the 40, which is good for a real big guy. He had a 36-inch vertical jump, 35 reps on the bench, and the bench, the video of the bench is on YouTube.
Yeah,
and it was a very clean 35 reps.
Ooh, yes,
he wasn't struggling, and then you look at he ran like a 4.15 shuttle. Corners do that. So and you just look at some of that stuff, and he's an absolute freak. So now, so what's the problem? Problem is he's still raw.
Yeah.
It didn't even come to the United States until he was 10 years old. The thing I picked up though, he comes from South Africa, and usually the South African whites and the Boers and stuff got a British accent. Well, he has a little touch, but he brought in that Southern drawl because he
has. Yes, he has.
It's like a British accent with a Georgia tang to it or something, twang to it.
Well, Vandenberg was the last pick. The Bears actually moved up into the 6th round to get him. And this is what Ryan Poes said about him.
Cool part of this whole process, you go through, your winter film work, and then you get back from the combine, and then you got some guys that are maybe non-combine guys that do really good at pro day that pop up on your radar. Jordan was one of them. And as we got his name around the building, we were working together with the coaches, there's a level of excitement. So he was a player that we identified that we wanted to go get. We didn't want to wait any longer. I don't think he would have lasted to us in the 7th, so we're a little bit more aggressive, went and got him. And you could tell with the energy that came through the building, and especially our D-line coaches, they were fired up. So really excited how we finished this draft.
I'm excited too. This is
Did you notice the one thing that just jumps out when you watch him, even if it's just a highlight thing, where Gervon Dexter, and I don't want to, this is not going to be pick on Gervon Day, but on every snap, Gervon stands right up.
Yeah.
When you saw him, he came out real low and very explosive. And that's how he gets penetration. And the other thing too, I wanted to say, because I tweeted it out yesterday, I think, or it might have been Saturday night. And we've said it on here 3 or 4 times. They have changed the profile for the defensive line. They don't want big elephants. They want very athletic penetrators. And that's what they drafted. That's what they signed in free agency. So there's guys like the kid from Clemson, wasn't a fit. The kid from Ohio State, not a fit. All these big Hunter from Texas Tech, not a fit. Doesn't say they're not good players. They're just not what DA wants at his interior defensive line. So, and it's not like these guys are small. They're all, over 300 pounds. This guy's like 307, and he's probably going to be about 315 when he totally fills out. I mean, they're big guys, but he wants athletic big guys. And then the kid he signed in free agency from Wake Forest, Jalen Lowry, not very tall, 6'0", 309. He's got short arms, 4'8", 33 bench, 715, 3 cone, real athletic. So, just listen to what we're saying, because that's what they're drafting. That's what they're trying to sign.
Right. So when your favorite defensive lineman wasn't drafted. There is a reason why. There's been this year more than ever, Greg. We've heard from people outside the league, other teams' general managers. You reposted one from I think it was Philadelphia or Buffalo about a GM saying we are drafting. It was Howie. We are drafting players that fit our scheme. Not, who you like because he scored a touchdown for blah, 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 whatever. Guys that fit our scheme. And that's exactly what the Bears have been doing, particularly since Ben Johnson got here.
Right. And I mean, we did that when Lovey was here, because it was, we had to get the first year, we had to revamp the defensive line the very first year.
Those two tackles.
Well, you had three. Philip Daniels was an end of 320 pounds.
Ooh,
and the only guy we had that was a fit was Alex Brown, and he had just played his rookie season. So, it's learning what they want. It's like safety position. I kept saying they're looking for an athletic safety. It's a guy that, almost is a clone to Kobe Bryant. He's got cover skills. He can play man's cover skills. Still got to have toughness. The kid from Toledo is not a fit. He can't do what, as good as he is, he can't do what DA wants him to do. And he ended up going a lot lower than people thought. He went to the bottom of the second round, not in the 20 to 30 area. So, and really the kid from Arizona, Stooks, is the guy that jumped up. Why is that? Because a lot of people are looking for that real athletic safety guy who's got the man cover skills.
Greg, there was something at the joint press conference that Ben and Ryan had on Saturday that really, really struck out. He was asked, how are you going to get the results out of this defensive line that you want? This is what he said.
Well, we're certainly going to coach better than what we did a year ago. We've made a concerted effort in how we're going to get that done. We were excited about the guys that ended up finishing the season on IR, the trajectory that they were on, both Dio and Shamar. When you look at it from the start of the season to the point where they both got injured, we saw growth and we saw them trend in the right direction in terms of what we want to see on game day. I think Sweat had one of his better years in the NFL, whether that shows up in the sack total or not. He's a very complete player. Both run game and pass game. And I think you saw tremendous growth from Booker when we were finally able to get him back as well. So the combination of us being able to coach better and those guys taking the next step as part of this system, I think we got some pretty good pieces to work with.
Greg,
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I don't think he's bullshitting. I think he's really, really saying the truth, that he believes that.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But no, he's putting a lot of pressure on the coaches, too. Because he's just said, we're going to coach him better, guys.
Yeah.
And it's in their second year. Now, the one thing that it jumped out when I heard that, and I heard, when he said it on Saturday, was that, the designated whipping boy on the Bears defensive line is Dale.
Yeah.
That man has yet to say a negative thing about Dale. Yeah. The fans hate him. The coaches love him. And so you just got to back off. And, he played in a totally different type of scheme in Indy than what they were asking him to do here. Very, very productive against the run. In fact, the run defense dropped off after he got hurt. The one name, the thing that jumped out, because Ryan Poles, when he did the one interview with Herb Howard at the owners meeting, and he said it to Herb because I had talked to Herb after. He said it off the record because, he talked about the defensive line, and he thought that Shamar Turner was really going to take a step. And I sent, Herb a text. I said, you didn't ask him where he's going to play, because they moved him from tackle to end. And he goes, no, we talked about it. And he said, to be determined. And then it was loud and clear Saturday, he's playing outside. And I think part of that had to do with the fact they didn't get a guy outside. And there's not a doubt in my mind that had Jack has been there, they would have taken him.
Right.
Because just the way they say all these guys went before us, and then they wouldn't have traded 60, and they would have taken Jackus and Jones.
Right. Greg, what do you say to fans who say you had 2 late second-round picks? Why not trade up into the top part of the second round and get your defensive and pass rusher that you need?
And it's a fair question, and he actually answered it. He said cost to move up was too expensive.
Yeah.
To where I wanted to be, and that's what it was. The Bears had no ammo to move up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Unless
And,
they were
again,
gonna...
and one of the reasons for they had no ammo, they didn't get the damn comp pick.
Yeah. Exactly. Oh my God! Don't open up that can of worms. People in the chat room are gonna go nuts.
Yeah, how about all the videos from the Atlanta draft room with Ian making all the decisions, and you didn't see the quarterback anywhere.
Yeah, Matt Ryan was out drinking with Jake Glazer. It's crazy. What the hell? Unbelievable.
It was funny. So the Bears got screwed. It's real simple.
They sure did.
And I think, Goodell's wife's from Chicago. He should have thrown him a bone, but
I hear you.
he was trying to hold to the point because of the wording in the contract. And that's strictly, even though sometimes that's not right, it's what your wording in a contract or title can say one thing, but job description is another.
Right. That's interesting. So I wish they would have, made that correction and then told all the owners, listen, in the future, this contract has to say this, or you don't get any comp picks, or we're not doing the whole comp pick thing anymore. This is
well, something's got to happen because there was a screw up, and the Bears got screwed. But you can't do anything about it now. So it's over and done with. But I'm just you're not happy that they didn't get the edge, but every single one of those picks fills a need. It's just when they took them. And how it fell, and I would say right now, barring an injury, all 7 of those guys are going to be on the 53.
I think so. I would agree. Well,
There's
let's
a
start
spot for everyone.
Let's start looking into Logan Jones, the center. This is what Ben said about the new center.
We were really smitten with Logan throughout the process. Dan Roush, Kyle DeVan, they went out and went to several places this springtime to make sure we could identify the guys that we felt really good about. And obviously Logan was at the top of the list for us. And so we felt convicted as a staff, coaching staff and personnel side, that he was our guy. The mental is top notch. We saw all the traits that we're looking for, whether it's the run game or in pass pro. We brought him in for a top 30, and I think that's when it really solidified it for us that, he's got the makeup. The guys at Iowa were raving about him, and then just the next level in terms of football IQ as well. So,
Greg, what are you hearing about this kid? What have you seen when you looked at his tape, or what can you share with us?
Very good player. The one thing that jumps out is he's been a 4-year starter. He started off as a defensive lineman. Okay, and he was actually a 6-year guy. So he's 24 years old. But he started off his first year as a defensive lineman. And then the next year, they moved him to the offensive line, I think. But then something happened. I think he might have got hurt. Then after that, he started 52 games in a row. That's a lot of freaking starts now. And, I've been to Iowa probably 40 or 50 times. Bunch of times I went twice in a year. Kirk Friends is an old offensive line coach. He was Belichick's offensive line coach in Cleveland when Belichick was the head coach of Cleveland. And the offensive linemen that you get out of Iowa all play. They're tough kids. They might not be Pro Bowl, but he replaced one of the best centers in the game. That just got $90 million or $100 million to go from the Ravens to the Raiders. And this guy was his replacement, and like they didn't lose a step with him. So just across the board, when you draft a lineman from Iowa, you're getting a kid that's smart. He's played a lot. He's usually like a fifth-year guy because he's been redshirted. Very technique sound, stays on his feet, strong. You're getting this. Every guy you take is really the same guy. They come from the same breed, and they're always consistently good football players.
Boy, I've been studying this guy, and he looks like the real deal, Greg. I am so happy that the Chicago Bears got him, and this guy is going to be a contributor for a long time. He might not start his first year, or he might not start game one, but he will eventually be a starter for a lot of games. Wouldn't you say?
Oh, yeah, and he looks a lot bigger than 299. I mean, he's a big dude. Very, very strong, and he's real big in the ass. And the thing is, the fact that he was a defensive lineman his first year, defensive lineman in high school, he got a little prick to him, a little defensive line mentality, and he goes after people. He consistently finishes. And that's what you're looking for. He's got the athleticism to get out in space, and that's one of the keys. And that's why they signed Bradbury. He's a very athletic guy, and Dahlman was very athletic. You're playing a lot of outside zone, and you're asking that guy to go out and play in space. He has to pull sometimes. He has to scrape, get out to a linebacker, get downfield. You can't get a guy that runs 5.5 and can't change direction real quick to play that position. He's got to be an athlete.
And we got one in Logan Jones, 6 feet, almost 6'3", 299 pounds, according to the Beast. 24 years old, so he's a little bit up there in age, but that doesn't bother me at all.
No, that's what you're going to get. I'll tell you a little stat. I saw it last night that kind of surprised me. And it said, don't be surprised if some owners start saying, don't go to the small schools anymore. Like 95% of the kids drafted came from P4 schools.
Oh, is that right?
There was like a handful that was FCS or FCS and below.
Wow. So why would the owners, contemplate telling?
No, it was a facetious comment, but the fact is, why are you spending money to go to, Grand Valley State and the
not for the restaurants, I'll tell you that. Okay, so let's move on.
The D2 schools, the FCS schools, but there are kids who come out of North Dakota State all the time, and that's an FCS level school. Yeah. And they had a couple guys drafted this year, but really there wasn't very many, not nearly the number that they've had in past years. And part of that, they say, is NIL, because if the kid's good at FCS, he's getting poached by a P4 school.
It's an interesting point of view. Absolutely. We'll keep
I shouldn't say I should say P4 and G5. So Division One, high Division One level schools are the kids getting drafted, not the FCS, not Division Two.
Right. All right. A lot of fans were confounded by the choice in round 3, and that this is Ben Johnson on the Bears' new tight end.
He's a finisher through the whistle, and I think that showed up on a consistent basis. It didn't matter who he was blocking. Could be a big guy, could be a little DB, and he consistently finished through the whistle each and every play. You always love it when you take a player and you get a text message from somebody. One of his coaches at Stanford said he will crush himself to do whatever he can to help the football team, and it just verifies what you all already thought about the players.
Greg, what do you like about the Sam Roush?
Well, the need was, and there's one. I got to back up a little bit and don't let me forget to go back to this guy. In talking to 3 different people around the league, some people say this guy was a reach because he's going to be your third tight end, and you took him as high as they did. Well, people around the league say they never saw anything like this draft, the way guys were coming off the board. That, everybody went by their board, but everybody's board was so different. One guy, and Lance Zerline, our buddy, said this too. He had it in a tweet this morning. He said, I talked to a GM, and the GM said it was the Wild West. Everybody was all over the place, and that's fine. But that made it difficult. And again, part of it, NIL, guys that would have been in this draft stayed in school. And so really your back part of the draft wasn't as strong as it usually is. Your UDFA class is not as strong as it usually is. There's only a few of these guys that kind of jump out at me, and we'll talk about them. But to get back to Roush, easily the best blocking tight end in the game. Now, who's he replacing? He's replacing Smythe. He's the third tight end. Why do you use a high pick like that? Do you know how many snaps he played last year? Because I looked it up to find out. Including the playoffs, he played like 335 snaps.
Wow. Okay. So
he played a lot of football. He played during the season. It was like 288 or 292, something like that, during the regular season, and then he had about another 45 in the playoffs, and that's a lot of snaps for a guy to play. And he plays as a when they go into 3 tight end formations, and they can count that too, as he can line up as a fullback. And this guy's athletic enough to line up at that fullback position or be the Y. You can go into a heavy thing and have 2 Ys and Loveland flexed out, or even Loveland at the wing, and just to get as many good blockers as you can. You just saw just a couple plays, but you saw what he can do. When he makes contact, he almost like a tackle. You can see that snap in his hips, and he always finishes and drives his legs. Just a good, solid football player that there's a role for him right away. And right now he's playing 300 snaps. So is that it? Did they reach for a guy that's going to play 300 snaps? Hell no.
Nope. Indeed.
So, and then there was some talk. Well, that means Cole Kmet's going to be gone pretty soon. Wrong answer. Cole Kmet got his contract restructured, and they can't get rid of Cole Kmet even if they wanted to, because of the way they restructured the contract. He got a lot of bonus money, and his salary for this year is like $1.2 million.
He'll be with the Bears for at least 2 more seasons, full guaranteed.
Right.
Absolutely. Yep. Are you concerned at all with Roush's 30.5-inch arm length?
Yeah, but when you watch the tape, it doesn't show up.
Yeah, he sticks to blockers, to defenders really good. Well,
yeah, and he's so strong. I usually hate short arm guys. I mean, that's been ingrained in me, and I see that, and you go, oh shit, and then you watch the tape, and you could say the same thing about Ruben Bain. He's the exception to the rule, but with Ruben Bain, who goes in the first round, Cassius Howell goes to Cincinnati in the middle of the second round, and Cassius Howell's got 1/2 inch or 3/4 of an inch shorter arms than Ruben Bain does. Everybody in the league is going to be watching these guys.
Yep.
To see because if they end up being productive, then that could change the perception of the short arm guy, at least for the edge. Not going to change the perception for a tackle. I mean, we saw what happened, and New England, I think, drafted a tackle.
Did they?
And so you're going to take and move Campbell probably inside the guard.
Interesting. I want to play this soundbite from the presser. This is what you've been preaching for months now, that the Bears draft to fill needs, but they're going to look at needs over players that are not compatible with the system? Ben will say it better than me.
The one thing I do feel pretty confident about is this is what, you feel good about just tight end position, for example. You got Colston Loveland, who you love. You got Cole Kmet, who you love. Well, we're really targeted at that third tight end spot. What does it look like? What do we value the most? And so what is most appealing to us might not be most appealing to the next guy. Same thing with the wide receiver discussion that you're talking about. What's most appealing for us, and as we fill out that room, knowing that Rome and Luther are big components of it, we want to find guys that help complement the skill sets. And like I said, the non-negotiable is be the type of players that we want to be, and so that we can bring the vision of the football to life.
I mean, if you don't get it after that explanation of why they drafted these guys and why they drafted Zavion, I don't know if you'll ever get it. This is a plan.
I was thinking, and I hope I'm not going overboard on this, but 20 years ago, we took Devin in the second round.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We took a lot of shit for that pick. Why are you taking that guy in the second round? He was a specialist, and he didn't have a position. Played 3 positions in college because they couldn't find a position that he could really be good at, but he was real good as a returner. So then it was, you got to take a kick returner that high. Well, Zavion Thomas is very, very similar to Devin, but actually better as a positional player than Devin was. I don't know if anybody's ever going to be as good as Devin. He's in the Hall of Fame as a returner. But I just think that, when you have a role that and you know what that role is, and you have a need for that role, you take the player. And you can't beat the speed, man. 4.28 is 4.28. And you see it all the time. When you're watching the tape.
Let's listen to Ben talking about Zavion. Here it is.
Well, yeah, he's got a unique skill set just in terms of he's a 4.2 guy, and those guys don't grow on trees, and so it's easy to look at because that flashes up and everyone sees it. But yet, when you turn on the tape, it's more than just being able to run deep routes. The versatility that he showed both at Mississippi State and at LSU from the backfield. Whether it's running routes or getting handoffs, and then the returning aspect of it, I think it all adds up. And Coach Randall, myself, Press Taylor, we all have a vision of how this guy could really help us. And as I talked about, it's a complement to what Rome does best, Luther does best, Khalif does best, and so he's a guy that we really feel like can play a key component in what we want to do this year.
I love what he's saying, and I love the fact that this team has a vision and they have a plan on how to execute that vision. That, to me, cannot be stressed enough.
I like that they do that because, we did that. We didn't do it at first, but we did it after Lovey came, and because we wanted to make sure that the coaches were being held kind of accountable to what we drafted and why we drafted the guy. And so we had put into the notes on the player in the computer. We talked about it in the pre-draft meetings. If we take this guy, what's the plan? How are you going to use him?
Excellent.
Okay, and then now the guy doesn't work. The coach Ron Turner and the running back coach Tim Spencer wanted that little returner running back from Northern Illinois real bad.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, it didn't work out. He was a local kid, Chicago kid. I can't even remember his name. Wolf, I think his name. But
yeah, I remember Garrett Wolf.
So, and it didn't work out. Well, part of it is that when they got him, he couldn't do the things that they thought they did. But it was like, hey, wait a minute, we drafted him because you were all jumping on the table for him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's pretty important.
Yeah, I mean, you don't if you don't want him, you don't take. We got him because you wanted him. You said,
yeah,
there's no role. We brought you because he was local. We could bring him in here for a workout, and we didn't bring him in with the local guys. We brought him in by himself, And we had a big workout over in the Peyton Center with him. And he was really outstanding in the workout. Now, granted, that's not a game. And after the workouts, when they really went crazy, got to get this guy, got to get this guy. So we take him, I think, low third round pick. They don't use him.
Yeah. It's got to be frustrating as hell. As we got closer and closer to the draft, Greg, I heard more and more people talk about the Bears needing to bring in somebody at the cornerback position. This is Ryan Poles on draftee Malik Muhammad.
He's someone that we talked about, Al, DA, and I. We like the way that he covers. We like the play style. And we think there's room for him to continue to improve too. So add competition at quarter room. And we think that he can positively impact us and give us more depth early. And as he grows into something bigger, we'll see how that goes.
Have you studied his tape at all? If so,
yeah, I really like him. The only thing he's got to do is get a little stronger. You know, he's 182 pounds, you know, put on 10 pounds and 10 pounds of really strength muscle. But he plays hard. I mean, you know, he'll go up and hit you, but sometimes he'll bounce off because he doesn't have a lot behind it. But the things that jump out, and actually the first play you showed there was a perfect example, because that he was in zone on that play. So he's playing zone, and he's got his eyes going towards the center of the field, and he's seeing the other guy coming across, and that's where the ball's going. And so he kind of jumps the route from his zone. He leaves his zone to get the pick on the inside. That's instincts. That's awareness, you know, zone awareness, and that's good. Now, they played a lot of press man and just off man at Texas, and he's really good at that. You know, his footwork is great. He doesn't always pedal and turn. Sometimes he does that, what they call bail technique, where it's kind of a side saddle thing, but that's a coaching thing, what they're asking the guys to do. Not that they can't do it, because he's extremely athletic. And he can run. He ran a 4.42, and he's got real long arms. He's like, you know, 6 feet tall, and he's got 32.5-inch arms.
Yep.
You know, so
off his length. Yep.
Real long arms. So good ball skills, and he is tough. I just think he needs to get stronger and add a few pounds. When I was watching tape the other day, I started thinking, because remember when we're doing pre-draft stuff a few years ago, and we did Stevenson, and I said what game? It was a North Carolina game. He gave up 3 long plays in zone, and it was like, there's something wrong upstairs with his awareness in zone.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you watch this guy. This guy is better than Tyreek coming out. Not as physical as Tyreek. Tyreek was physical, and Tyreek could play press man, but Tyreek struggled in zone. And as we've seen so far, and we don't want to. Tyreek has actually had a pretty good year 2 years ago that he, you know, cost us a game, but you know, he has some limitations where this guy, not as tough, not as physical. You know, he's as tough, not as physical, not as strong, but he's a better cover guy. And coming out of college, he is. You know, this guy going to play. How much he going to play as a rookie? Who, you know, that remains to be seen. And then, you know, Terrell is supposed to be in pretty good shape right now. You know, going into the offseason program. How much they let him do remains to be seen, but I know he's going to be full go for camp. But he still had, you know, durability issues, and you got to have 5 good corners.
Kay says, I see Blackwell, Jones, and Smith in trouble now. Well, I wouldn't. Yeah, I understand what you're saying, Kay.
Blackwell is one of the best special teams players they got.
Yeah,
Blackwell ain't going anywhere.
Competition is fantastic. You know, that's really going to make everybody better bringing in this.
And they brought in a kid from the Bills to be he's short to be a safety, but he played it. He started like a dozen games at safety for the Bills, and more than held his own. But he's really a nickel. But he's the guy. He's taken CJ's place.
Yeah.
As he's going to be a backup nickel and a backup safety, that's going to get a lot of play time. And he might be little, but really tough as nails, and it'll knock your dick off. He hits so damn hard. So, just a good football player.
Indeed. Well, one of the things we saw in the clips that he had a blocked kick attempt, and one of the things that you look for, particularly in day 3 players, is can they play special teams? The linebacker that they chose has not played special teams, but he came in saying, I know I got to earn my spot on the special teams.
I think as a younger player, he played specials.
Okay.
In fact, I heard Dane talk about it it was a clip that was on there. He was doing a live draft show. Mm-hmm. And when the Bears took this guy, he was raving about him. And he transferred to Arizona State from, I think, New Mexico State. And he was in the same recruiting class as Diego Pavia. And then Pavia transferred to Vandy, and this kid transfers to Arizona State. This guy's tape jumps out. It's like, why didn't he go higher? Because he is so instinctive. To me, with linebackers, the most obviously you got to have the physical traits, height, weight, speed. But if you're not instinctive, you can't play.
Yeah.
Okay. Jack Sanborn plays in the National Football League because of his instincts. He doesn't have the physical traits. He's a 4.75 guy. This guy's got Sanborn type instincts. And when you watch the tape, you see it. I say guys are either anticipators or reactors. And anticipators know where the ball's going before we know where the ball's going. And I'm watching the tape, and that's what this guy is. He just got an instinct to know to diagnose things so quickly. Where a reactor, he's got to see it and then he moves. So now he's a step and a half late getting to where the play is. So this guy, you see a bunch of TFLs because he anticipates so well. And here's the other thing that jumps out. He's an off-the-ball linebacker, and he had 7 sacks, and not one comes from the edge.
Yeah, how about that?
All blitzing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I don't think we ever mentioned his name. So for the audio podcast people, we are of course, talking about Keyshaun Elliott, and this is Spose talking about the new linebacker.
Keyshaun, physical brand of football, has really good size, can run. And then again, his ability to both play the linebacker position and also help on special teams. Hightower has a huge say in this whole deal too. We want to make sure those guys can perform on special teams, which is going to help them make the active roster, which is important.
Greg, I loved in that first highlight clip that we showed how he was assignment sound. His assignment was to follow that running back, and he got there just as the running back got the ball and made the tackle for a loss.
And it was a cross coming from the other side of the formation coming across.
Mm-hmm. All right. So
behind the line of scrimmage.
Behind the line of scrimmage. Talking about behind the line of scrimmage, the next guy we're going to talk about, actually we talked about him already, but Vandenberg is an expert at TFLs. He's a TFL king and the freak athlete. Anything more you want to add on Jordan?
He doesn't have short. I don't know where he gets short arms. He has like 33.5-inch arms.
Let me double
I think
check
that's
that.
what it was on
the
AP. The APT sheet's got it.
Oh yeah. Well, let me just double check. But did you look at tape of him and what are your thoughts?
Yeah. Well, I told you I did 3 reports on him during the year. And
that's right.
Kind of surprised I didn't bring him up on Saturday. We're going into the thing, and it's just like one. I was thinking of the Penn State Kate Zane Durant, and would they go away from athletically? He's what they want, but he's got short arms, or would they, try to find somebody? And I slipped my mind that this guy was out there because as a guy I always liked, I didn't like his pass rush of the first half of the season, but the second half of the season it came out. He had 3 sacks the second half of the season. But I mean, what a balls out competitor.
Yeah. And you're right. His arm length is 32, almost 33 inches. So it's pretty good. Yeah. My bad. My mistake. All right, let us now turn our attention to the undrafted free agents. I think there were, let's see, I got a graphic here. There were 13 of them reportedly signed. You've looked at tape of 3 or 4 of them. Why don't you go ahead and tell us who you scouted and your thoughts?
A guy who has a chance, but he's probably, well, first of all, there's 2 guys that got signed that were there. It's been reported that they got a guarantee on their contract in the area of like $225,000, $250,000. I don't remember the, and that's Caden Burnett.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one is the safety from Oregon, Skylar Thomas.
Gotcha.
When you see a contract like that on a UDFA, they will be on the practice squad worst case scenario, because the practice squad salary offsets that guarantee.
Mm-hmm.
They're getting that guarantee one way or another, but you want them to earn it, not just throw the money away.
Mm-hmm.
So those guys, generally speaking, find a way on the practice squad. Courtney had the tweet about how much money that I think Burnett got as far as guaranteed money, and I just said, watch this guy. The worst case will be on the practice squad, but he's a pretty good player, nasty guy, good athlete, big, good arm length, strong. He's got a chance. It's just that we've got a lot of good players there now. But when you look at athleticism, size, strength, length, all that stuff, he's got all the tools. But like I say, worst case scenario, he's on the practice squad.
And he's got a little bit of an edge to him. As I was looking at some of the highlight reels of him. He's
had a real good East-West week.
Yeah. Okay. So you know a lot about him if he was with the Shrine Bowl. Who else did you look at, and who else did you like?
Well, I haven't looked at him, but I love his numbers. Is Casey Eziamumi, or who knows how to say that?
Yeah. Casey Eziamumi.
Okay, so he's where I got the numbers here. 6'1.5", so 6'0", 194,
Mm-hmm.
a 7'1", 3 cone, a 10'7" vertical, and a 4'3", 40. So, I mean, the physical traits are there. I don't know if he can play. I haven't watched a minute of tape, but the physical traits are really good. And you also, you looked at a couple of years ago, they signed Blackwell and Jones as free agent corners, and they had really good, none of them were combine guys, but their pro day stuff was off the chart good, and they're still in the league. So that's why when you see this, you say, this guy has a chance of sticking around just because of the physical traits. He's got the height, he's got the length, he's got the speed, he's got the overall athleticism, but I don't really know much about him.
This kid from Wake Forest, a defensive lineman, Jaden Loving, looks like he might be promising.
He is tough as nails, very, very athletic. We talked about him a little bit in the beginning. Real short arms. He's got like 30.5-inch arms. So he's like, he's got arms like, the Miami pass rusher. But
Bean?
This kid, though, I mean, he plays hard. He's strong. 33 reps in the bench, but he's got an ass to him. You could see it. He plays the one technique, and he's strong. Plays it well, but he's athletic. So, I don't know the contracts on these guys. I've only seen 2 of them so far. If he's got guaranteed money, good guaranteed money, then he's gonna be on the practice squad, worst case scenario. The 2 guys that really did nothing for me, just strictly from straight trait comparison, is Squirrel White and Omar Kelly. They don't run very well. And so, if you can't, but, anybody you could run with a darn got drafted. So, neither one, I think that Kelly ran in the high 4.5s and Squirrel White ran in the 4.6s.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know what Coleman Bennett ran, but I'm telling you, the highlight reel in this guy is very
And
impressive.
he looks good on, and I watched some games. First of all, that right there is what he can do really well. Catch the ball. He's had over 20 receptions each for the last 2 years.
All hands catches, nothing to the body.
Yes. Now, he started off at one of the Pennsylvania FCS schools, like Bucknell or something like that. And so, which means he's got to be pretty smart. And then he transfers down to Kennesaw State, which is now a low-level G5 school. And you know who he reminds you of? See, he reminds me as soon as I watch him, he reminds me of him. Same kind of movement skills. Didn't run, he didn't time fast, but he plays fast. How about Montgomery?
Oh, okay.
Now,
David
Monty did it at Iowa State. This kid's doing it at a lower level of comp. But that, about the same size as Monty, catches the ball like Monty. Wouldn't shock me if this guy can play teams, if this guy's a third back.
That would be quite – I think I would put that as a need, the third back, because of Roshan's injury history.
Well, they got the kid too. They brought into camp late, and then he jumped out.
Barron.
Yeah, and he jumped out in the preseason. Then when he had a play, he ran for 100 yards.
And a touchdown.
Yeah, so it's I think that he's similar to that guy too, in style of running, kind of a physical runner,
Right.
which is a lot different than Swift, So Monangai is very physical runner. So, but interesting guy, and I think if he can play like you see on tape, and he's jumping up from G5 to the NFL, then he's got a chance.
They also brought in a kicker to give Cairo some competition, although
he needs to go on a diet, I think, that guy.
He sure does. He's like 250 pounds. Unbelievable. 6 feet. It says 230 here, but it's more like 247 is what I saw. This is Tooch put this graphic together for us, and thank you, Tooch, for that. But the guy has had some success, hitting almost 83% of his field goals. His long was 53, and perfect with the extra points.
Lefty too.
Lefty. So he's gonna be fun to watch at camp.
Well, you got to change. You're changing the hold. The hold's opposite. The hold is completely opposite. So, it'll be interesting. It's going to be tough to beat out our kicker. He's just his leg has gotten stronger every year, but the sucker don't miss.
He doesn't. I mean, every season it appears like he has a bad game, but bounces back quickly. And I love Cairo Santos. He's right up there with Robbie Gould. We all of us fans got upset with Robbie Gould because he had a bad stretch for a while, and that was the biggest mistake the Bears made. And most of us fans applauded it. Robbie left and went on to have several great years elsewhere. So,
we started off the show talking about what I thought was going to be the case. The tackle wasn't the need that they said it was. Well, it was really a need, then they would have gone overboard trying to sign tackles in free agency too. And now edge you couldn't because there wasn't any. I mean, any guy edge could play where the shit got drafted. The one guy, and he might have been a medical reject because he ended up being a free agent, is the Rieger guy from Wisconsin. I don't know who signed him.
Yeah, I don't know either. Mason Rieger. Anybody in the chat?
And then Llewellyn from Iowa. But neither one of them ran good. So, they might have been just their slow. They ran like 4.85. So both of them might have been just ruled out off of speed.
Interesting question here from Sheikh. I was actually going to ask it, but I think he phrases it better. How do you feel about high value positions versus low value? This was a low value position draft. that doesn't mean it's a good one, but no impact pass catchers or defensive linemen. Your thoughts?
Well, the defensive lineman, you might have a steal in Vandenberg. He is just going on testing, the best athlete, defensive tackle athlete in this draft, hands down. Nobody's close. So, from that standpoint, you got to start with the raw traits, and we know he's got a motor. We know he's competitive as hell. So what he's got to clean up is hand use and stuff, and that's coaching.
Yeah,
Ben said they got to coach him better. Okay, and that's what it is. They got to work with this kid. But when they say that that's the guy that the defensive coaches were jumping on the table for, that means that hey, we'll teach him. We want him. Get him here. We'll teach him. So, they're already dialed in to making this guy as good, have him play up to his athleticism.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, and I can't stress enough what we shared earlier. Ben Johnson talking about there's basically been a period at Halas Hall where they've been coaching the coaches. And I saw one question is, how can you coach players that you've already coached, get them better? I think it's pretty obvious. If you have reviewed the tape and said, we could have done a better job of having this guy do this or that or whatever it is, communicate with them. And if the coaches are open, I didn't do a good job of that, then clearly you can help these players get better. Don't you think?
Okay. Well, two things it brings out. Number one, you had a staff coming from all over, coming together as a new staff last year. So most of these guys never worked with each other before. Some on offense worked with Ben, but everybody else was, new with each other. Mm-hmm. So now they've been together for a year.
Right.
And two things were happening last year. Everybody was like, the coaches were learning DA's scheme, the coaches were learning Ben's scheme, and then they're trying to teach it. And now it's like, no, we got it down. We know this. And now it is, and the players have been through it. So now it's getting them to be that much better. Looking for just a second year bump all along across the board. But to go back to the one question about, the high impact player or position versus low impact. I mean, there's a point to that, but you still can't deviate from where you've got your board stacked.
Yeah.
And that was the one thing Howie said. He said, you've got to go by your board.
Yeah.
And everybody's board is different. So somebody could say, how could they pass this guy? Well, that may be Dane Brugler's guy or DJ's guy. And don't forget this, and there's been a big argument on X about it, and I think it's kind of pointless, but the guys like Dane, DJ, Lance, they're doing general grades. They are not grading for a specific scheme.
Yep.
And so, when you do that, the guy can go up or down depending on the scheme, because if he's a real good fit for, and they mention sometimes the best fit for this, but they keep everything kind of general. Mm-hmm. And you can't, the NFL game is a scheme game, and you cannot, to use a simple phrase, and Jerry used to say this all the time, you can't put a square peg into a round hole. You got to get the right guys. And there used to be the old adage, well, change your scheme to fit the player. You can't do that in the National Football League.
Yeah. Greg, I was actually giving this a lot of thought over the weekend, and people who are in the business of evaluating college prospects for the NFL game, the next best thing that they can do besides give us honest analysis on players is put a little, paragraph in, fits this type of scheme. You know what I'm saying? So that,
and sometimes they do. They go, but they don't. You can't every team. By the way, you were asking me if you have some of that stuff. I found it the other day looking for. I told you about,
awesome! Yes.
my wife's got to get a car, so she goes, I don't know where the title is, so I'm looking all over for the frickin', which I found, and I got to FedEx it in a little bit. But anyway, as I'm looking through all these drawers for where that title is, I found the stuff that has the player definitions and all that shit.
No, he's not talking about drugs or anything. He's talking about some of his scouting reports. And some of
well, it's that and the profiles we had for the players.
Right. Yeah.
So it's they're not real long because we already know what they want. So we it's more like Cliff Note type thing.
Right,
and it's cheat sheet to take with you when you're on the road. But I did find it because I know you asked me about that a week or so ago.
Yeah, I'd love to see that.
But it's funny because when I'm looking for the title, I look and go, oh, there it is.
Yep. Usually, like when I clean out the basement, I find a lot of stuff.
This is like 5 feet from where I am right now.
That's funny.
There's a chest with 3 drawers in it.
Yeah.
And like packed. Those 3 drawers are packed, and I'm going through, and it was in the middle drawer, the bottom left of the middle drawer. I pull it out, and I go, "What's this?" And I go, "Oh, this is what all those asking about."
Indeed. I didn't get as many questions as I normally did because this was an intense show with all the video and stuff. But I did star some questions, and we kind of touched on this already. This is from Samo. He says, Logan is going to be 25 years in October. Do you have any concerns about his future contract situation, given the fact that he probably won't start this season? So you only could get maybe 3 seasons out of him in this contract. Any thoughts on that?
And they can't. There's no 5th-year option. He's a second round. Good offensive lineman. Okay, look at Joe Thuney. Good offensive linemen played till they're 33, 32, 33, 34, and sometimes later. Why? They take training is a lot better now than it used to be. They take care of themselves. They eat well. And this kid hasn't been hurt before, so from that standpoint, the shelf life should be good. Yeah, is this a concern? Yeah, but he fit what they want, and obviously they took that into consideration. But they used a 2nd round pick, not a 1st round pick. I wouldn't want to use like Ruben Bain, or not Ruben Bain, Messidor. I would not want to take as good as he is a 25-year-old in the 1st round.
In the 1st round, yeah. You've talked about that. That's kind of you're not getting the value that you want out of a 1st round pick if you're drafting a 25-year-old. I understand that. Yeah, that's a good point. All right, let's go to our next question here. We got another one from
the bottom of the 2nd round too, so it wasn't like he's 57.
Yeah, right. Another one from Samuel. He's asking about Dennis Sutton, who tested well, has all the traits and size that DA covets.
I'm sitting on the side going, take this guy. And, finally got picked. It's a good question. And, I don't have the answer unless they just felt there was somebody better versus him.
Yeah.
Because as I said, I think I don't have, you have a complaint that they didn't get an edge, and that's a fair complaint. But as we said earlier, all 7 of these guys are going to be on the roster. Some of them now, who's going to start as a rookie? Now you got a pretty good team. You got a team that went into the 2nd round of the playoffs.
Yeah,
and so they don't necessarily have to be starters, but you want them to be starters by, say, year 2, year 3 at the latest, but they want to be, and when they're a defensive lineman like Vandenberg, he's going to be in the rotation. He's going to be playing, okay? The corner going to be playing. The receiver and the tight end, they're going to be playing. Logan Jones, the only way he plays, except for special teams, is if he literally beats out Bradway.
Well, and let's not forget, we've had the situation before. We've had the situation before where we picked up a center like the guy from Green Bay, Patrick. He gets injured right away, and then we've got to put somebody in. So, Bradbury,
and he could, but now to this point in his career, he hasn't. He said he's played 120. He's played in 120 games, started 120 games, and then he's played 5 or 6 playoff games. So he's been very, very durable. The guy's a good player. I don't know. Fans don't like him for some reason.
Yeah, that's weird.
The word gets out. Coaches knew about it a few weeks before, but the word got out that Dahlman was going to quit. And they started doing their homework. And Bradbury was the first guy they wanted. And they went out and traded for him. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that tells you something.
Yeah, it sure does. It sure does. This guy could earn a second contract with the Bears, which I doubt that'll happen because they'll have the faith in Logan. But let's just get a good season out of him. I'll be happy.
Yeah, I personally think he could be one and done and then go into free agency because you want a guy you use a second round pick on. If you were right by taking him at 57, then you want him to be your starter then.
I got a question here from J2K. J2K, I apologize for asking you to resend it because I did find it. The question is, was drafting a cornerback and linebacker this year telling us how Poles feels about Zay Frazier and Ruben Hippolyte?
Well, Zay Frazier's a big question mark. He didn't play all last year. Right. And he was old last year. He was a 25-year-old last year. So now he's 26. 5 corners are going to be on this team, minimum. Could even give you 6. So, and you got one who's a cross nickel safety, even though he'd be a small safety. So, Hippolyte. Oh, the other thing too, Sewell tore his Achilles in late December.
Oh, good point.
Okay, now, generally speaking now, Achilles, you could use a basketball player, Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum was practicing in January. They didn't activate him until March, playing games, and he's tearing it up now since he came back. But he tore his Achilles late in the playoffs last year. Okay, and, so and I've had Achilles surgery. I had it in 2019. It's an 8 with the surgical procedures they have now. It used to be 12 to 16 months. Now it's like 8, 9 max, unless there's complications. And so you're looking at, based on when he had the surgery in December, he had it game 17 against San Francisco, or week 17. So the second last week. And now it's, he'll probably be like Ozzie is and be a PUP guy during camp. And, unless he really recovers quickly and miss the first part of the season. Okay. And you lost one veteran in free agency. You replaced him with a signing in free agency. Theoretically, they're going to keep 5. They could keep 6. I don't think it's a sign of they don't have faith. It's we're going to create competition. And, and you look at the board and you say, this is where we got this guy. Is it a heavy need? Corner was a heavier need probably than linebacker, but this guy's a pretty good player. Yeah. So and he fits athletically, speed wise. He fits what they're doing. And next year, looking forward, TJ ain't going to be here next year. That big contract, next year, that big contract falls off because he's making a lot of money, and he really I think that is one error because the coaching staff was in on it because they loved his tape and they loved him. I mean, part of it, you saw he won the Piccolo Award for that, for the veteran thing. The guy's a great guy, but he in pass coverage, if all he had to do was play run, he'd be super. But in pass coverage, he's a detriment to the defense.
Yep. He's getting up there in age, and that some players.
Well, he never could run. He never could run to begin with. But there's
and the age doesn't help.
There's times when DA had him in man coverage, and he got eaten alive. And that's why, same thing with the safety. There's times when the safeties have to play man. And you saw the way like San Francisco and some of these other teams just picked the Bears apart because it didn't have enough good cover guys. Some of it linebacker, some of it in the back end at the safety position. As good as Byard was with ball skills and playing zone, he doesn't have the athleticism to play man.
Yeah.
And Brisker, while he tested great, he was a decent zone player, but he's a box safety. He's not a real good cover safety.
STL Bear Boy wants to know about Luke Newman and Theo. Are both of these guys on the bubble?
Well, I don't think Theo is. And I like Luke. They like Luke.
Yeah.
It's, you're going to keep 9 offensive linemen. Okay. Luke was drafted thinking that they were going to play him at center. He did have some problems snapping the ball in a preseason game. But, he comes in, Jonah Jackson gets hurt. He's got to play the rest of the half. And it's like they didn't miss a beat. Luke Newman is a warrior. So if you beat him up, you're pretty freaking good.
That's, one thing I need to say, Greg, is we fans have to stop, thinking, all right, we acquired this player, so that's a replacement for that player. No, it's competition. We're not giving up on Luke Newman. We're not giving up on Zay Frazier and so forth. But you got to fill the roster with players. And if you really like the guy that you drafted, it doesn't matter if you've got other people at that position. Isn't that fair, Greg?
Yeah, I remember after might have been the second preseason game, could have been the first one. Olin puts out, that Newman guy's pretty good. No shit. I mean, I saw a lot of him in college, and it's funny because at Holy Cross, I did him that summer before, and he played at Holy Cross. He was a left tackle with 31-inch arms at Holy Cross, and nobody got by him. And then he goes to Michigan State, starts at left guard from day one, doesn't miss a beat, and he was a warrior then. And he went against some high draft choices and kicked the shit out of them. First of all, he's real strong, and he's real smart. The only thing wrong with him, he's from Detroit. But other than that, he's fine.
Got 2 or 3 really good questions here. I am going to go with Carm One at Stroud. Greg, can Dennis Allen run his defense better after this offseason?
Well, he's got more players that he wants. Okay, so
more players that fit his scheme.
Right. So, and I go back to what Paul said. He said when we got the coaching staff together this a year ago, and and DA's putting together what he's looking for, and he goes, I knew right away I can't get both sides of the ball done in 1 year. Yep. So they took care of Ben. They're hoping to take care of DA. They did take care of DA in free agency. They were hoping to do better in the draft. It didn't fall that way. And you can't. Now, you said it. Excuse me. Could they have traded up? Yeah, and Paul said it too. He says it was too expensive to trade up. And not only was it expensive, but they didn't have the ammo to do it. unless they used a pick from next year. Next year on paper is supposed to be pretty good. So why would you want to do that?
Yeah, indeed.
And then he said, the comment we talked about right at the beginning of the show, what he, that little nugget he threw out there Saturday night.
Yep. I got a gut feeling there's going to be a trade coming up, or after June 1st. There could be some significant names, available.
Now, it's funny. June 1st last year, June, a day in the calendar.
Yeah.
All those guys, some of them, were like listed as post June 1st cuts back in March.
Yeah.
Okay, and then they went on to they just count on the salary cap until June 1. Then they come off the cap. So really they're counting on two teams' caps at the same time. And then, can there be some June 1st cuts? Yeah. Theoretically, you could say TJ could be, but it'd still be the cap hit you take would be enormous, where there's, very minimal cap hit a year from now. And on top of that, he's a valuable player. He just can't do everything you want.
Yep. We got a great question from D. Starren. And D, we're going to talk more in depth about the other teams in the division and who they drafted and so forth. But I did put together a graphic of the Lions' top 3 picks: Blake Miller, Derek Moore, and Jimmy Rolder. Moore and Rolder both from Michigan. Any thoughts you want to share on the Lions?
I don't know. Rolder was here for the local day. He's a local kid, but I don't know much about him. Did not see him as a great fit for here, just on speed and stuff. Mm-hmm. Moore's a good player.
You like him?
He's a balls out player. Did not test very good, which was a disappointment. Blake Moore, been a consistent player all along. Played really well the back half of the season. I think he went to the Senior Bowl. I don't quite remember, but he's a guy that kind of came on late as far as being a first round pick. And what's funny is he's a semi-local. I was watching a thing where his introduction in Detroit, and he lives in Cleveland. He said, "Yeah, I left Cleveland at 10 o'clock, got here at 12 o'clock, and the 2.5 hour drive from Cleveland to Detroit, and he's almost a local kid for him."
Oh, right. And let me show you the Vikings picks, because I looked at it, I immediately got pissed off because it reminded me about comp picks. Their 97th pick was Caleb Tiernan out of Northwestern, the offensive lineman. But they picked Banks, and you've talked about that, how risky that is with the 18th overall.
He's got the raw talent to be really good.
To be special,
broke his foot twice in 6 months. That's a concern. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I didn't study that many of the linebackers to know Galladay. I know people like him. Orange, even though he's a big guy, is kind of athletic for a big guy, strong. He'll probably play the nose for them, the one, and he'll be a good player. Tiernan played tackle, but I don't think he's going to be tackle in the NFL. His arms are too short. He's 32.
Yeah, and he's a big, tall guy too, with those short arms. That's kind of weird.
I think he'll be a guard, but he's got decent tape, and I don't know the safety.
I got to tell you, I looked at a lot of safeties in the couple of months leading up to the draft. This kid, Jacoby Thomas, he totally eluded me. I never heard of him until now. So,
what school did he go to?
Gosh, I don't have that in front of me.
I don't know the name.
J2K, tell us what school he went to. J2K studied him and said he was a good pick. Okay. But by the way, I did not do a graphic for Green Bay because I'm still in FGB mode. So we'll talk about those guys in a few.
They took one guy I liked. I know that. Because I went like, on X, I went like, oh shit, he went to Green Bay. Just because he's a good football player.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll peek into their draft and maybe talk about it in the next show. Greg, anything else regarding this draft or just the overall draft in Pittsburgh? You watched just about every pick. Anything that you want to comment on? Something strike you?
No, day 3 was a little boring. I did switch over to watch the Sabres kick the shit out of the Bruins.
Did they win that series, or is it 3-something?
3-1, but they won both games. Won both games in Boston by a score of 9-2. You know, and which bad. I didn't think. I thought they'd split in Boston, and they just annihilated them in Boston. And you know, the Boston fans were in boo mode midway through the first period because it was 4-0. They just, you know, the Sabres came out real fast. And then the Boston players started taking cheap shots, and a couple guys got game misconducts, and you know how that stuff.
Oh, that's why one of the reasons.
And the one guy who got the game misconduct, Zadarov, was originally a Sabres draft pick. That, you know, they got rid of.
You know, one of the things about the overall draft that I really liked, although the TV stations did not do a good job with their production of it, was the briskness of the first round. It was 8 minutes in between picks. I really liked the speed of it. Did that bother you? Or I would imagine the teams probably didn't like it.
They were, in the first round, they were 3 picks behind.
Yes.
I had Aaron Wilson sent me a link, and it's the league link. So as the picks actually get entered in, and then the league link saw that they were so far ahead that they started to slow up. They'd go, pick is in, and then that'd be sitting there for like 4 minutes or so before they'd put it out on this link, and it's a private link. But I was then, I don't know if you noticed, but I was then, you know, I was probably a good 3-4 minutes ahead announcing picks.
Yes,
you know,
I noticed that,
on stage. And part of it is I wanted to see who was going to get to the Bears pick.
Yeah, who was falling, right. Yeah.
And then, like I say, we got to 20, and I said, wow, Bears might get a shot at Thielman.
How about it? Oh, by the way, let me share this with you in the audience. This is, do I have that? Oh, maybe I don't. I had a really good soundbite of Ben talking about Dylan Thielman, and I forgot to load it. But basically what he said is it's rare when an offensive coach like he is looks at tape. Yeah, looks at tape and gets wound up about, you know, how good of a guy is. And he said that offensive coordinators are going to have to account for Dylan T. So that's a great news. He's really excited about him. All right, Greg, I think we're going to cut this show out at this point. Any final words you have for your fans?
God, well, now we're getting into a nothing week. Yes. Because rookie minicamp's not till next week.
Right.
They got to do it within the first 2 weeks. The advantage of doing it the second week is the kids come and they stay.
Right.
Okay. And if you do it this week, they'll come in and they're going home. I like the way the Bears do it. Just keep them in town.
Keep them in town, indeed. Well, we have to come up with some topics for discussion, and I'll ask people who are watching us live and people who watch us on demand, because we get thousands of people watching us after the show. Send us some ideas of what you'd like Greg to talk about, because Greg and I can spend an hour and a half easily talking about his favorite music bands, his favorite TV shows, etc., etc. But if you got football topics, send them on to us.
You like that? I don't have HBO anymore. You like that one show on HBO really good. I think it just ended. The season just ended.
The Pit.
Yes.
Outstanding.
I don't even know what it's about.
Yeah, it's about an emergency room, and what's cool about it is that every episode is a real-time episode. So it's 1 hour in the day. So the first episode is from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. The next episode is 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. and it really dramatizes what these healthcare workers go through in emergency rooms. It's really, really good.
It's crazy. I mean, if you've ever been in an emergency room, it's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, I've been there too many times, unfortunately. All right, thank you, everybody, for joining us.
I got a story for you, but I won't tell it on the air about emergency room. I'll tell you as soon as we get done here.
All right. Make sure you check out Draft on Tap. Danny Shimon and Aaron Current wrap up with their thoughts on the draft, and Greg and I will be here next Monday. We'll find the topics to talk about. Hope you can join us then and share with people what we're doing. Take care, everybody.
See you later. Thank you.